Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you so much. We have one resolution coming before us today. It is a resolution urging the Director of Public Service or his designee to rename Schneider Park to memorialize and honor those buried there and to provide future generations a place of reflection and remembrance and declaring an emergency. I'm going to defer to the sponsor, Councilwoman Davis, to introduce our guest.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, I am excited today, and I'm also honored to introduce this resolution. And it's a designation that acknowledges the sacred history of that land and memorializes those who were laid to rest there, many of whom were poor and too often forgotten. This effort has been years in the making. Ms. Jane Greenland and Dr. Berman have worked tirelessly over the past 6 to 7 years to bring this vision to fruition, and we appreciate that. And they just want to ensure that the dignity and remembrance are restored to this space, that dignity and remembrance are restored to this space. So they are here with us today, and I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you, Dr. Berman, okay?
Thank you so much. And Councilwoman Davis especially, thank you, because without your support, we would not even be able to move forward, and this forward motion is really marvelous for a lot of people who've been involved. So if it's okay, I'm going to share screen and just walk through the slides that were sent to you and then hand it over to Jane Greenland to say what we're hoping for. So if I get it right. Did I get it? It doesn't want to say share. Doesn't want to say share. Go window.
If you click on it, will it? Looks like it's trying to share that. Go ahead and hit stop.
Should I make it? How about I go? Oh, that's not what you want. Let's go back one. So hopefully you all can see what's up. So really briefly, we began this process of exploring Schneider Park based on work that had actually been done long before us. But so you understand, right now this is a picture of Schneider Park, and as Jane and I drove away from Schneider Park just an hour or so ago, there were kids playing ball in this exact same location. So Schneider Park is a very popular park here in Akron, used for recreation and walking and health. But more than 100 years ago, Schneider Park was the site of, more than 150 years ago, the site of a poor farm where people who were not able to care for themselves were housed and given some what work they could pull off to earn their keep. And in the mid-1800s, that poor farm was taken over by the Ohio Board of Charities and turned into an infirmary. And the infirmary existed up to its demolition at the corner of Mull and Exchange Streets on the footprint of what is now the Presbyterian Church. The farm that belonged to the infirmary stretched along Mull all the way out to Hawken, down Exchange and across, so that enormous footprint that is now the Schneider Park housing development was at the time the infirmary's farm. The land that is Schneider Park was too wet to be used for farming, and it was mushy, and because it was too wet to be used for farming, it became the burial ground, first for the poor farm and then for the infirmary. How do we know this? Well, we do actually have records, lots of them, that show this. It was never something we didn't know about, but we also can see it. So the two images that you can see here, one shows you from the overhead, the drone shot. You can actually see the neatly laid out burials. And that shot was taken in 2017, but you could easily see it today if you put another drone up. And the other one, it's rare to get this clear a picture, but we just hit the right point in time during the year when grass was growing, but the two different kinds of grass were growing differently. Grass grows differently on top of burials. And so you can actually see them pretty clearly in the second picture. Backing up, reminding you of that one, in 2017, a University of Akron class did subsurface mapping of the area and came up with some great data, which you can find in, excuse me, James, the book that we've actually written about this, and there's lots of data in there if you want more information. But in addition to the subsurface mapping, thanks to the hard work of a Summit County Public Library archivist, we have 308 death certificates in just one 8-year period for burials that went into Schneider Park. That's a small portion of the overall time that Schneider Park was used as a burial ground, so it gives you some sense of what was actually happening in that space. Those death certificates give lots of good information about cause of death, about the age of the person who died, their race, their ethnic background, the languages they spoke. We had a lot of foreign burials because we had a lot of foreign workers who were unable to support themselves once they were injured and wound up at the infirmary, for example. But the city of Akron also used this burial ground as a potter's field. So some of the burials were not inmates of the infirmary. They were actually people who died in the city of Akron without resources and were buried in this as a potter's field. We know all of this from research, but the research has actually spawned, as it should, community engagement around memory and forgetting in the city of Akron. And that started with a local filmmaker who you all know as Kenmore CDC director, Josh Gippen. Josh worked with the University of Akron students, and they created a documentary called The Forgotten Dead, which played on PBS of the Western Reserve. That was followed by the Center for Applied Drama and Autism Kids under the direction of Wendy Duke, formerly Miller South public school teacher. They got Knight Foundation funding for the play that they wrote, and one of the reasons why they created the play was to demonstrate their perspective that 100 years ago, which is about when the infirmary closed or more, that would have been them, that they would have been categorized as marginal to the progress that was going on in Akron and not necessarily cared for in the same ways that they are cared for now by our civic institutions. That has led to some wonderful things. Recreation and Parks, the city of Akron, did a moonwalk at the Schneider Park and told people about the burials. There's good sharing of information about this, but all the time that there's all this great sharing about it, including the book that we produced, there's just been this general sense of, okay, so what? So I'm going to hand it over to Jane Greenland.
So what? Hi, everybody. Oh, thank you, Carolyn. I'm Jane Greenland, and I've lived in the city of Akron since I was born at St. Thomas Hospital many years ago. And I've lived in 2 homes in that time frame of my life as an older person. But the last 32 years, I've lived directly across from Schneider Park. It's the best home in Akron, I feel. I just love looking at that park. It's just grass, basically. And they're only allowed, the kids are allowed to play on it, but only volleyball, not volleyball. What's the other one? They just kick soccer. Sorry about that. Anyway, so we get to watch a lot of soccer games. But one day in 2017, Carolyn's husband, he's the archaeological professor at the University of Akron. He came with a fence, like a little temporary fence, and some archaeology equipment, and all his students. And it piqued my curiosity what he was doing there, because I had known nothing about the burial grounds. So I went over to him, introduced myself, and he told me his story. And they're just listening. He said that we believe there's people buried here. We have proof, from the death certificates and so on. And so I watched him do his thing with his equipment, and he showed me a drone shot. And sure enough, I could see the rectangles and the way the grass was growing and so on. And it became so important to me, I just couldn't believe that I lived across from a burial ground, that I've lived there now for 32 years, and that nothing had been acknowledged. It was like a top secret or something, until I met him. The secret came out, and then they did that movie and so on. And so at that point, I decided, because I talked to people and told the neighbors, I told all the neighbors what he was doing and everything, and I said, we've got to have the city of Akron know that this is a burial ground, and it needs to be recognized, and the people need to be honored, and so on. And so I was thinking, I said, what do y'all think if we change the name? Maybe we get city council to change the name from Schneider Park to Schneider Memorial Park. We'll keep the name Schneider, because he was a good man. He knew about the burial ground ahead of time. He knew that, and that's why he kept it flat. He didn't want any baseball games there with structures set up showing the scores of the game. He said he only wanted like games like the soccer, which doesn't interfere with the park look. Once the kids play, they go home, the park stays the same. It looks the same. And so I asked the neighbors, would you sign a petition if I say, City Council, could you please recognize Schneider Park as a burial ground, and let's just add the name memorial into the middle of it, and then people will wonder, why is it a memorial park? And then we'll tell them the story. But we'd also like to tell the story with either a granite tombstone or a historical marker. You've probably seen the historical markers around town. They're made of like bronze, and they have a typewritten story on them, and they go in the ground, something like that. And Carolyn looked into the matter with the Historical Society, and yes, they have those available. And they also have some grants available, and some of the grants could be $4,000 or under. And we were wondering if you do vote to change the name to Schneider Park, Schneider Memorial Park, if we could also, get a grant of some sort. Otherwise, we'll do fundraising. If we change the name to Memorial Park. But we would like everyone to know why it was changed, and a plaque like that would really help the matter. So I'm just saying that part. But I love the park. What happened also was when I moved in, I had a grandson. He was just born, and I babysat for him a lot. And I noticed that there were a lot of women in the neighborhood walking their babies right down Crestview. Crestview was like, it was a straight shot to Delia from Mall Avenue, 5-way stop, down Crestview to Delia, and it was like a speed thing. And so at the time, we had Russell Neal as our councilman, and I told him about the situation, and so he put in a 4-way stop. He got the city of Akron to do that, put a 4-way stop in at Thorndale and Crestview, and that really slowed everybody down very nicely. Then one day I asked him a few years later, could we maybe get like a little walking path for the babies, that the buggies could have a walking path to walk in the park? Well, they turned that down. They said that would be considered a structure, because Schneider Park didn't want any structures on the property. So it's just grass. That's all it is. But this past year or so, they decided that a path might not be a bad thing, and it isn't really a structure. So they put some light crushed limestone down and made a perimeter path around the entire park. It's about a mile, but it's so beautiful. And you wouldn't believe the people that turn out every day with their doggies and their kids on the buggies and running. And it's just a wonderful thing to see. For me, I look out my front window and I just see people and doggies, and it's a wonderful place. But that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. But I hope you'll consider all these benefits to renaming the park Schneider Memorial Park. Do you have anything else, Carolyn, you wanted to add?
No, I think you covered it. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Maybe I missed it. Who was Snyder? And what was his origin, and where did he come from?
I'd be happy to fill you in. And the book is a great place to learn more. A local historian named Eric Olson wrote quite a bit about Paul Schneider in the book. Paul Schneider was born in Michigan, but moved to Akron and set up his first business, which was actually a grocery store downtown, but rapidly rose as a civic leader and was engaged in all sorts of really cool civic activity here in Akron across the 1910s, teens, and 20s. And in 1916, he petitioned because he had this idea for a housing development as Akron grew and grew and grew. He had this idea for a housing development out on the west side. And to have the land, deals had to be made to move the infirmary residents. So in 1919, they closed the infirmary and moved the remaining surviving residents to Monroe Falls State Infirmary. It was a county infirmary belonging to the state. But the Schneider then demolished the old infirmary and began the construction of those amazing houses that make up Schneider Park, and he himself lived there. And after his death, his spouse was part of a group that participated in sort of securing Schneider Park, the park space, as a land area that would never be developed. And then I think she went home to Michigan.
Thank you. When I was a Metro bus operator, I used to ride around. There's a church over there, and I would pick up residents from church there. There was a daycare, and I would pick them up. And I always wondered what that large space was there. I never knew it was Schneider Park.
Well, and interestingly, the Methodist Church is now a school, the Juliet Billiard
Julie Billiard.
School, which focuses its attention on kids with learning challenges. So there's almost like a series of threads connecting all these pieces together.
So true. And that's part of St. Sebastian's, is that Julie Billiard School for the those children that need extra help.
Councilwoman Davis?
Yeah, I just want to thank Dr. Berman and Jane for your commitment and your dedication to this project. And the book is an excellent read. I do have it, a lot of history in there. I'd recommend that you guys get it. And again, I thank you so much.
Thank you, Jan.
Councilman Lombardo, do you have a question?
I did not.
Councilman Fusco?
Thank you for all your hard work and passion with regards to this. I know your work, Dr. Berman. It's very good. And what a story, amazing story. We had heard, I attended one of Jan's meetings a couple years ago, and I think that's whenever began to talk about it publicly. Heard about the movie, of course, and some of the story, but now we're hearing more and more, and what a story it is. My question, though, is that you're asking for some grant funding or something possibly along those lines. What, how much, and then what for?
Okay. Well, I think it'd be about $4,500 possibly. Mm-hmm. And it could be used for either a stone, granite, like from North Hill Granite here in Akron, Ohio. I did go to them to get an estimate. I had her write up something, and she showed me the stone it could be put on and so on. So it could be a stone, but even to take up less room is that pole with the beautiful statement made of
From that metal?
the metal.
Yeah. Steel.
So there's those available too, and I think Carolyn may have talked to the girl at the Akron Historical to.
So Leanne Neff, I'm forgetting her new last name.
Yeah. We know who you're talking about.
Leanne.
She's been here.
At the Summit County Historical Society has been talking with us briefly, but she's willing to sit down with us and look into applying for a state historical marker. The brown metal big things.
Yeah.
A state historical marker, and the question would be sort of creating the content and then applying for it. There are small grants that do not cover the full amount. She said normally they cover about half the cost, and the cost of those is about, in her guesstimate, $4,000.
Okay.
And so historical marker it would be the other option, but either way, rock with a plaque or a historical marker.
Yeah, to tell the story, like you say, there's such a story, such a
I know.
amazing story, really, if you think about it all.
And when I spoke to the neighbors, asking them to sign the petition, they all wanted to sign it, change the name to
Yeah.
Schneider Memorial Park. And the people are going to come out of the woodwork once they find out.
Yeah.
And you know what they've been doing? The city of Akron U, the class that her husband taught in archaeology, every month in the spring, when the roses are blooming, there were these kids, they were like college-age kids. They would bring like a bunch of roses like this, and they would go around and lay them on every
That's
single
cool.
grave. They would just lay them down and walk away. Say a little prayer and walk away.
We didn't know they were doing that.
But I saw it, and, and they knew.
Yeah.
When you're a student in Akron U and you take a course like that, you're going to know that there's an unmarked burial ground in the city of Akron that gets no attention, except they do mow it,
Yeah.
you know.
It sounds like intentionally now, it's, I assume we own it, the city of Akron owns it.
Yes.
Is there,
They make
and I don't believe there'd be a world where, who knows, 10, 20, 50 years from now, someone would want to do something there. My question, though, is there a covenant within, and I don't know if you looked at it, I'm guessing you probably did, but a covenant or what have you, a deed restriction, whenever the Schneiders, if it was them that, deeded it to the city, if there's any, restrictions or anything, because, to preserve this, to make sure 100 years from now, I'm just curious.
I believe that the deed restriction is that no structures can be built
Okay.
on the park. I believe that that's what it is. Larry Tucker, Robert Tucker, known as Larry, who wrote our legal chapter, was the one he's a lawyer, who went and looked into it. But I believe that that's the only restriction. And I don't know
Good.
how long restrictions like that last. Is there a statute of limitations?
I can't
In
pronounce that.
perpetuity.
Thank you. I knew the professor would know how to pronounce that word. A long time. But yeah, thank you again for all your hard work and everything. And like I said, Jan, I would guess, I'm not going to speak for everyone here, but I would guess that, if there's something we could do to help assist in some way or another, this would be something that we could help with, perhaps.
Any additional questions? I just have one. Is there signage at the park now, and what kind of signage is there?
Yes, there is signage at the park. It's a brand-new sign that they just made for all the parks, and it's bright green with white writing, and they just put it up, and it says Schneider Park
City of Akron.
in the city of Akron. Yeah, it does say city of Akron.
All right, we'll look at it.
Have you seen them around, the new green ones? Yeah.
May I have a motion for favorable report?
I'll make that motion
Is
for
there
a
a second?
favorable report.
All in
Second.
favor?
Aye.
We're good.
Thank you so much.
Our next committee will be the Public Service, Public Utilities, and Green Committee. Those committee members are Kamer, McKittrick, Wilson, Bolden, and Lombardo. Again, that's the Public Service, Public Utilities, and Green Committee, and it will begin at 2 o'clock. Thank you.
Is it very soon? 2 o'clock?
Okay, it's 2 o'clock, and our next committee meeting of the day is the Public Service, Public Utilities, and Green Committee. Those committee members are Kamer, McKittrick, Wilson, Bolden, and Lombardo. We have all committee members present except for Councilman Kamer, so Councilman McKittrick will be chairing today. Whenever you're ready, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, I can say that. Clerk Biviano. I'd like to call the Public Service Committee to order, and we have previous minutes to approve. If I could get a motion. And a
So moved. Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. Now we have, I don't think we have any old business on here, but we have three new pieces coming in today. The first one is an ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into a sponsorship agreement with the city of Fairlawn for the Water Resource Restoration Sponsor Program for the project to remove a dam along Shockalog Run and declaring an emergency. Mr. Luddle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Yes, this is a sponsorship program through the Ohio EPA. We have done this numerous times, and Jessica to my left has been one of the persons that's drove some of these programs. So we always look to sponsor one of our own programs that we are doing. We didn't have anything that really to qualify on this one, so we looked to the Ohio EPA and they suggested this one. City of Fairlawn, Shockalog Run, as you know, runs north all the way through the old Rosemont Country Club, and they covered up some culverts, so they enclosed some culverts. So this will open up, restore some of those culverts, that earthen dam, and then create a floodplain. This water generally flows southeast, I believe, all the way down Shockalog Run, and then it goes into, eventually goes to the Tusk. So this is part of the Ohio River watershed. But what we're going to do is we are bidding it currently down at our wastewater facility, WRF. There's a secondary treatment upgrade to our electrical system. It is about just under a $5 million project, and by sponsoring this program, which doesn't cost us anything to sponsor, we will receive a reduction in our interest rate for that program. So it's a 28-year loan on that $4.8 million, and we will see a 0.01 reduction in that interest rate, which right now they're up pretty high. I mean, over the years, we got some very favorable one. Right now, it's currently like 3.4, so interest will be at 3.3. So if you look at that reduction over 28 years, long story short, we're going to save about $90,000 in that loan, which is a good thing, and it really doesn't, like I said, doesn't cost us anything. Usually we go to Jessica, and if she has something in the watershed or one of our other programs, we like to sponsor those, and currently we didn't have anything. So that's why we looked to one of our neighbors, one of our partners, Fairlawn, and that's why we're doing this.
Very good. Any questions from any committee members? Councilor Wilson.
I'm so sorry, maybe I missed an amount somewhere. What was the amount for the loan?
The loan is $4.8 million for
4.8.
28 years.
Okay.
And currently, the interest rate is 3.4, and we will see a reduction in that interest rate to 3.34.
Okay.
Yes.
Understood.
And over
Yeah.
the life, we'll save just about $90,000.
Okay, okay. I just didn't see that in the legislation. I wasn't listening right.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from committee members or council members? Oh, he disappeared. Consent agenda?
Yes, that's fine.
Motion for consent agenda?
Second.
We have a motion and a second for consent agenda. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we'll get that on the consent agenda. The next piece before us is an ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service or his designee to enter into a participatory agreement or agreements with the Ohio Department of Transportation for the construction of road resurfacing along Talmadge Avenue and declaring an emergency. Mr. Luddle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of committee. Yes, this is a resurfacing project that our engineering and the Ohio Department of Transportation are working on. This is a next year project, but this legislation will allow us to enter into the agreement so ODOT can start the process to secure funding. This total project is just under $2 million. This is an 80-20 split, so our portion would be about just a little bit under $500,000. So between assessments and between our resurfacing budget, this will be in next year's capital budget. You'll see it. But we have to enter this agreement to start. So this is about 1.8 miles of resurfacing. It's from Route 8 all the way up to the Corp line in Talmadge, so it's just tad east of Britton Road, as you know. They will rebuild all the crosswalks and all the ADA to make sure all the walking, the crosswalks conform to ADA. You know, that's probably that area with North High School. That's probably one of our highest walking general public we have. When you look at a high school, you go around there in the morning, you go at night, so this will help improve the safety. We are going to do some surveys. There will be some public meetings, but like I said, this is a next year project for resurfacing.
Very good. Any questions from any committee members? Councilman LaVerde?
Thank you.
Yes?
Thank you. Okay, so with this resurfacing project, are we talking about, with ODOT involved, are we talking about a road diet of any kind?
We are not that far yet. We are studying the whole corridor to see if it does meet the requirements for a road diet and adding bike lanes, but right now we're not there yet.
Okay, so you talked about public input or meetings or whatever. We're not there yet.
We're not there yet.
We're not there yet.
This is for them really they need to enter into the agreement this year so they can start securing funding for next year.
Right, right. I mean, no doubt that it does need done. I mean,
Yes.
between the manhole covers that are
Yep.
high and low and just the normal wear and tear, a lot of truck traffic
Yes, sir.
getting out there.
We have
so-
some expansion joints, as you know, just east of North High School that kind of every once in a while, by Fire Station 7.
Yeah.
So that'll all be taken care of in this project.
Because you're just talking about resurfacing. I know you just said about rebuilding the ADA, ramps and everything like that. So it's not like, well, what I'm worried about is with North High starting, how that coordination is going to happen with, I mean, North High is back in the
Right.
football field, so to speak. So,
Yes. We'll make a note, we'll look at that, correct, with all the construction traffic.
yeah.
We don't really want to put this off due to the condition of the road, though.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt about that. I totally agree with that. So, okay. Well, that's all I have.
Great questions, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions from any committee members or council members? Consent agenda okay for this, Mr. Little?
Yes, sir.
Get a motion for consent?
Motion for consent.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for consent. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we'll get that on consent. And the last piece to come before Public Service today is ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service or his designee to enter into a contract or contracts after publicly advertising for bids for the emergency demolition of one condemned residential structure located in the city of Akron, declaring an emergency. Mr. Lettle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of committee. I'm going to turn this over to Dwayne Greger from Housing. He's got the most information, but this goes back a couple years. We've been dealing with this property, and in January, I think we had a wall cave in. We had the Summit County building official come in and assess it, and it would have taken significant dollars to rebuild the wall just to hold it up, or the rest of the structure, not the wall that fell, obviously. And but Dwayne can give more background how long we've been dealing with this particular property.
Mr. Greger.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. The commercial building at 1086 Brown Street, after numerous complaints, was declared a nuisance. It was ordered demolished by the Vacant Commercial Building Board in June of 2021. That demolition order was appealed by the owners, and the city prevailed in that court appeal, and that appeal was dismissed in December of 2021. In 2022, a mortgage holder inquired with the city about the possibility of submitting a bond to rehabilitate the structure and save it from demolition. At the same time, the Summit County Land Bank also inquired about possibly acquiring the building for the back taxes, and neither of those two developments came to fruition. In late 2025, the left side facing structure, left side wall partially collapsed. I had Jody Forster on my staff take a look. She took numerous pictures. I have those if you'd like to see those. We had Chris Randalls from the Summit County Building Department took a look, and he advised us that it would take significant shoring or the wall would likely continue to collapse. With one owner deceased and the other owner in prison, we knew that we were not going to be able to get them to pay for the cost of shoring up the building until we could do what we call a normal demolition. So we determined at that time that it needed to come down as an emergency, and Eslich Excavating was able to complete that demolition on January 12th, and we're just looking for approval to pay them for the demolition costs. Thank you.
Thanks for that information. Are there any questions, comments from any committee members? Any other council members? Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Lombardo.
So, was it residential or commercial building? Because it says residential, but you start off with commercial.
I believe it was mixed use. There was like a party center on the ground floor, and there might have been apartments above.
Okay. And you said it was already done in January.
Yes, the demolition, Eslich completed the demolition on January 12th.
Okay, no problem. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other comments from any committee or council people? Yeah, I know many times we have issues, just like you explained, where we have people wanting to put bonds. We think that it's going to be able to get repurposed, and it doesn't come through, and it just continues to be an issue. We've seen them come time and time again. So I'm sure this is a great thing that it's been taken down because of the safety of our children trying to get in there and so on. So I'm sure because of it's down, we really want to get this paid. So if we could get a motion for suspension of the rules with a favorable report.
Motion to suspend the rules, favorable report.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll get that before council this evening. Thanks so much. Thanks for coming down and the information. We now have a presentation, Project Acorn. Go ahead if you'd like, whoever's going to start and lead on it.
Yes, thank you, Acting Chair McKittrick and members of the committee. We're really glad to bring you an update on Project Acorn today, which is both a tree planting and workforce development program run by the City of Akron. Today's presentation is really fairly simple and twofold for you: information on how the first phase of that project has unfolded and gone so far, and an introduction to you on the next phase of the work. I'm going to actually hand things over to Jessica Gutowski, our watershed superintendent, who worked really hard to win the grant that made this program possible and who has worked equally hard on implementing the program successfully.
Thank you. Hi. As she said, my name's Jessica. I'm the watershed superintendent for the city. And Project Acorn, we originally presented and got legislation from council back in 2023 for this federal grant program. The grant focuses on urban forestry and workforce development. So we have been running this program for a little bit. We wanted to come give you an update on the work we've done so far, and then we had a couple of things that we wanted to update you on that we're going to be moving forward with. So we're really excited about the program. We had our first full year of implementation last year. Like I said, it's a federally funded grant. It was $1 million over 5 years. And the grant focuses on 5 neighborhoods in Akron. These neighborhoods were selected using the US EPA tool for trying to identify neighborhoods that needed more investment, specifically in canopy. But it looked at all sorts of things. We looked at, urban, like the more common things, urban canopy cover. We looked at urban heat index, but we also looked at air quality. We looked at asthma rates. We looked at all sorts of different types of health concern things to pick these 5 neighborhoods for the grants. So we wanted to have a nice map there for you, so that was kind of easy. And they're kind of in order, like go across like a little smile on the bottom of Akron. Okay, so what we've done so far is, I mentioned that we are working on repairing urban canopy and connecting canopy, but the other half of this is a workforce development program. The workforce development program specifically and only hires Akron residents. It is an 8-week paid training certification program. So our first, we call them cohorts, our classes. Our first cohort was in September of last year. And unfortunately, we had 6, but the last participant dropped out at the last moment. So we only ran our first cohort with 5 members. And as part of, like I said, it's a certification program. So Davy Tree comes out and does classroom training on just about anything urban forestry related. So trees, tree health, urban soils, diseases, pruning, planting, survival within urban scenarios. And then the other half of the cohort, we go out and we plant trees, we do pruning, we do care for those trees. So these people are getting kind of an ultra concentrated workforce training program, so that at the end of this program, they are certified by Davy Tree and the Project Acorn program to be urban forestry professionals. As part of this too, we do job fairs. We try to help these people be very marketable and put them in front of local businesses. We brought in garden centers and tree care centers to meet our 5 cohort members during the first cohort. And they also have the opportunity to get a license through the Ohio Department of Agriculture pesticide applicator program. And we take them to that. We help them study for that test, for the license test, and then we take them to the testing center as part of the program. And we had a 75% pass rate on our first cohort for getting that license, and the grant does pay for that license as well. And just one shining, I'm very excited about this program, but we were able to get these people out to different departments around the city as well. So they got to tour Public Works, they got to tour water, they got to tour the wastewater, the reclamation facility, and sewer maintenance. And 2 of the 5 were interested in, pursued, and are now full-time city employees. So it was really exciting for us because these folks have a ton of potential. This is a program where we're looking to try and help people get opportunities they didn't know they might have. And then we want to keep those people local. We want to find them employment in Akron. So our first academy, which we called Aspen, the second academy is Birch. We're going with the theme there. I would say I'm so excited because it turned out so much better than I thought it could be, and I was already excited about it. So for the Aspen Academy, we planted 258 landscape-sized trees within those 5 neighborhoods that I showed you on that map. 120, more than 120 of those trees were planted on private property. So we aren't just looking at dumping a bunch of trees into parks, which is great, and we do want to bolster the trees in our parks, but what we really want to do is connect urban canopy. The best way to connect urban canopy is to do both planting on public and private properties. We did plant 5 pocket orchards, and we're developing signage for those right now to help encourage residents to set some very basic kind of general guidelines on how to use a pocket orchard once these trees do begin to fruit, and to educate people like, hey, these are your orchards, these are available for you to go get apples and peaches and pears and plums, cherries, which are different tree species that we have planted in those pocket orchards. We focused only on either natives or agroforestry, food, like trees that would produce food. Excuse me. And we also sponsored an Earth Day event last year through Project Acorn, and we will be sponsoring an Earth Day event again this year through Project Acorn. Last year we had 45 volunteers show up. It was maybe 40 degrees and rainy and gross. and we had so many people show up. So we planted trees along the Rubber City Heritage Trail that had been installed the prior year. We did a whole bunch of supplemental planting to help create and beautify that corridor. And then we also picked up over 500 pounds of trash that day. People were troopers. They were working so hard. We were able to use the city's VTO opportunities. So we did get a bunch of City of Akron employees to come use their VTO hours. And we put 27 native landscape-sized trees along the trail that day. Just like a really, really quick summary, we trained 5 people. We planted over 300 trees to date. So in the last year, basically, we planted 300 landscape-sized trees. So these are like the size trees you would buy at Home Depot or Lowe's. They're not seedlings. They are, like full-size trees. Had a really successful Earth Day event last year, and we're very excited about the Earth Day event that's currently being planned for this year. And we have 4 more academies to go, and we are starting our next cohort, the Birch cohort, on March 30th. So we are wrapping up hiring for that and getting ready. We've got all our trees ordered. And again, all of this is grant funded. So the workforce development portion is all grant funded. All of the trees that are getting planted in these neighborhoods is all kind of already paid for. So that's even more exciting. So, one of the reasons we wanted to come talk to you guys today was we wanted to summarize like what we've done so far. I know sometimes we'll bring things to council and then we'll go do the work and then we don't come back and celebrate the work that we did. So, one of the things we wanted to make sure we were doing was come back and just let you know what we've done, and the other part is we could use some help. We are planning our next Earth Day event with the Tree Commission, and we would like some help kind of if we can advertise that once we get some of that information out. But the other thing, I mentioned all the planting that we have, that we did on private property for our first cohort. What we'd really like to do, we have 4 more cohorts that we are going to do. We're planting at a minimum of 150 trees per cohort. And what we'd like to do is really expand on our private property plantings. And how we want to do that is through basically free tree giveaways to residents who live in those neighborhoods. And that's one of the things that we did want to communicate and ask council for help with. If for the council folk who have residents in those neighborhoods, we're trying to get education out about why even people would want to have a tree, and then we coordinate with the landowner. They have to sign a form that says that they will protect that tree, not move it, not cut it down for 5 years as part of the grant. And then we'll come out, we plant the tree, we get it all set up, we stake it out, we mulch it. So yeah. I think that's the, in a nutshell, summary. Thank you so much for the time. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. This program seems extremely ambitious, and I love it. I look forward to some information. I'd like to come out for the Earth Day event myself. That's sounds like a very meaningful project to create our canopy even bigger, and I love the idea of the pocket orchards. Oh my gosh, the potential there for the community folks to take care of and have, more fruits, to be able to, when they start to bear fruit. Are there any questions from committee members or council members? Go ahead, Councilwoman Connor.
Thank you.
Yes.
Can you send us the pocket orchards where they are? That would be helpful. And you're welcome in Ward 10 anytime you want to give away free trees. We're ready for you.
Yeah, we will, we're working with the IT department, the GIS department to actually map out all of the places we've planted so far. So I do hope to have a map of that very soon. We do have a little 2-page flyer that kind of summarizes a lot of the stuff we said for everyone too, just for you to have with us today.
Thanks so much. Councilman Pesco, you have a comment?
Thank you. Thanks. This is Jessica and Casey and Chris. This is a legacy project. It really is. Mr. Little's been around for a while, and he'll remember whenever trees weren't that much of a priority in this town, and now they are, and it's a great thing to see because there's so many benefits that can be had. And so it's truly a legacy. Now we're developing folks who are going to be interested in this years down the road, who's going to be working for the city and perhaps sitting in those chairs over there one day. In developing that's a lot of what this is about. So I think it's very cool. Appreciate the partnership, of course, with the Tree Commission. Great partners. Appreciate all that. And Casey, all the hard work you've done. Mr. Lettle, thank you all, and keep up the good work. Thanks.
Thank you so much. We'll probably follow up with something that you can send your constituents, particularly those of you whose wards encompass those, the 5 neighborhoods that Jessica spotlighted. Something that, is already pre-prepared and you can just kind of email out. We might talk with you at that time about, future ward meetings and whether this is something that can get on your agendas so we can invite folks to accept some, free trees planted for them.
Thanks so much. Any other comments or questions from any?
Jessica has something to say.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, one last thing. I mentioned that we have a few, like 4 more cohorts. We have a cohort in the spring and a cohort in the fall, so we will be running this to the end of 27. So, we will be reaching out or hopefully finding private property through the end of 27, and I had meant to say that. So, we're not just asking for this one that starts in a few weeks. We're asking, to help try to find homeowners or even businesses within your wards who are interested in planting on their properties to connect canopy. That's all. Thanks.
No, thanks very much. I know that most of the council persons here will be really happy to be able to get that handout, and especially in those designated areas to come to those ward meetings and pass that information along. So if there's no other comments or questions, we'll be adjourned. Thanks so much for coming down, and appreciate all the information.
Thank you.
Our final committee meeting today is the Public Safety Committee. Those committee members are McKittrick, Kamer, Lombardo, Hannah, and Garrett. We do have all committee members present except for Councilman Kamer. We'll give everyone just a moment here to come to their seats and turn on the video if they're online with us. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much.
Make sure my basis the death of the death of
Okay, we're ready to begin the Public Safety Committee meeting. Again, those committee members are McKittrick, Kamer, Lombardo, Hannah, and Garrett. We have all committee members present except for Councilman Kamer. Whenever you're ready, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Clerk Viviano. I'd like to call public safety to order. We have previous minutes to approve. If I could get a motion in a second.
Motion to approve previous minutes.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for the minutes. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. We have one piece on the regular agenda I'll continue to ask for time on. We have 2 pieces coming in today. The first piece is an ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee without the formality of publicly advertising for bids to enter into a contract or contracts with Penn Care, Inc. for the purchase of 2 ambulances and 2 power load systems, and the required standard equipment to place the ambulances in service and declaring an emergency. Chief Pascu.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. We come to you asking for these 2 med units because they will be replacing 2 med units that are one just over 100,000 miles, one just under 100,000 miles, and are 9 years old. And our fleet is aging. The med units just could use refreshed. The 2 med units would be going to station number 14 in Goodyear Heights, and the other one would be going to station 9 on Dodge Avenue.
Okay, very good. So in our leadership meeting today, I had conversations, so I'm hoping they passed along some of the questions I had to you since you're coming to present today. I know when we created the positions for a med unit in Station 6 and another med unit in Station 2, and I'm not certain, but I know there was talk, or maybe we did purchase a third to put in service somewhere else, or maybe we haven't purchased that one yet?
We have not, no,
Okay.
sir.
So my question is with, we're looking at all the issues with all of our budget now, and I'm curious with this, what if they're going to have rolling blackouts, or however you want to put it, for those 2 secondary med units in those stations? What happens to those units? Do they just sit there when they're not being used? And are the 2 med units that are being replaced at 14 and 9, are the ones that are going out of service just leaving, or are they going to become usable spare units for the department?
Yes, sir. Thank you for asking. Those are going to become usable spares.
Okay.
So right now, when we get low on med units, we have to regularly or somewhat regularly put into service a 1997 Kodiak, which is our bariatric rig, and it's a lot of upkeep for the shop. As far as the other 2 med units that are in service, when those brownouts or rolling blackouts, however we want to phrase it, are going to be a temporary measure. We're trying to contain our overtime costs. We've been significantly over budget on overtime the last several years, and that is an attempt to contain those costs. During negotiations, we made a proposal to the union to staff those med units during peak hours. We're working through a process that would allow us to put those units in service during peak hours only, which will be a significant cost saving. So while they're the first to go out of service, they're still regularly in service as well. I mean, obviously, there's a need for those secondary to our call volume, but it's not a permanent plan to keep those browned out or blacked out. Yeah.
So out of curiosity, I know we spoke of the possibility of a third one down the road. Now, I know that's probably way down the road now, but if in fact down the road that came to fruition and we were able to go over the hurdles of all we have with these budgets, where would that one considered at this point? What's really busy where that might be?
So that would, sorry to interrupt, that would likely be station number 4 or station 3, somewhere in the middle of town where it could deploy outward.
Very good, very good.
Yes.
Are there any questions from any committee members or any other council members?
I just got one.
Okay, Mr. Hanna, go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I've got information that the station on Kelly Avenue, is that 4 or?
Station 8, sir.
8. And there was going to be 2 stations that you were going to take the ambulance out of service for a length of time, and then that would create the response time for the East Akron area. Are you familiar with that?
Sir, there is no plan to take a med unit out of service at any other fire station other than the 2 redundant med units that we recently put into service. to help handle call volume. There is no plan to take any med unit out of service in any neighborhood.
Not even on the weekend, is that correct?
Not even on a weekend, sir.
That's all I need to know.
Councilman Hanna, thank you. Just so you understand, I know that's probably more so into your ward, but I do believe part of your ward encompasses where Station 2 is there in Middlebury. And so that might be, it will not be without a med unit. It just won't have sometimes two med units there.
Yes, sir.
Because of the volume of calls.
Yeah, so for clarity, the two med units that we're talking about rolling out when we don't have the sufficient staffing to keep them in service, they both have a redundancy at that fire station. So no neighborhood will be out without coverage at any point in time. Now, when we have the staffing, they'll have the extra coverage that we've enjoyed for the last several years.
Thanks, Councilman. Any other questions or comments from any committee members? Is there a time constraint on this, Chief?
Yes, sir. We would like to ask for suspension of the rules.
Okay. Are these available at this point?
They're very close to being available.
Because I know we've had huge waiting periods to obtain these.
Which is why we chose the company that we chose to go with. These can be ready in a matter of several months.
Okay.
As opposed to, we waited 3+ years
Yeah.
on the most recent
Okay.
one. So we went with Pencare and
Okay.
that one.
Okay. Can we get a motion for suspension of the rules?
Yep, I'll make that motion to suspend the rules with a favorable report.
I second it.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, all right. Mr. Garrett, I'm sorry, I forgot you were up there. Did you have any questions, sir?
Thank you, Chair. So the questions, I know that there are 2 units that you said are redundant in that space. And as the chair spoke about down the road, a 3rd unit, would that 3rd unit then go to cover the redundancy of these 2?
Sir, that unit would be deployed based on the call volume at the fire stations that we see. Currently, Stations 4 and Station 3 would have the highest call volume of those stations with a single med unit there. So we took care of Medic 2 and Medic 6, which overlap with Station 4's district. So they take a significant number of calls in that space. So it would be decided based on the call volume at the time when we would deploy that unit.
Thank you. So the reason that we initially had those 2 in those areas, was it because of the need? Was that the reason, or what was the reason that we had 2?
Yes, sir, the increased call volume, and when AMR left the city is when we deployed those to keep our call volume up, and sometimes the wait times at the hospitals keep our units tied up for a long period of time, so those units were deployed, one on the east side and one on the near west side, to ensure that we always had appropriate coverage.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, Councilman. Sorry if I missed your hand there. It's kind of hard to see up there on the screen. Thanks for the answer on that. We have passed this out, so we'll get that before council this evening. Our last piece is an ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into a contract or contracts with Stryker Sales LLC without the formality of publicly advertising for bids for the purchase of 3 LifePak 35 cardiac monitors, equipment, and a 4-year service plan, and declaring an emergency. Chief Reedy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is a continuation of a prior purchase. I believe 2 years ago, we made our initial purchase for our frontline vehicles. We then traded in several of our older monitors, but we retained some for ourselves for redundancy and on some of our community paramedicine vehicles. This purchase will replace all of our frontline, bring our community paramedicine vehicles up to the current standard we have, and then allow us to have 2 reserve units to use if one goes down, or if there is some type of large event where we need a spare monitor, it'd be available there. As far as pricing goes, we work well with Stryker. We buy a lot of our products from them. We get very good pricing. For what these cardiac monitors are, we've all seen the TV shows where they take a picture of the EKG of your heart. We don't have an ER. We have an ambulance that goes down the road. It's contained in probably an 18-inch by 20-inch box that does everything they do in the ER. So these represent kind of the latest and greatest, and the reason we use Stryker is because that is who we currently have. We want to have continuity across our equipment.
Very good, thank you. I know we played quite along to try to get grants for those other ones for years and years, and we just couldn't get cooperation to be able to get those. And so when we obtained those, I thought it was quite important at that time when we did. So are there any questions or comments from any committee members? Mr. Hannah, sir.
Yeah, you forgot to mention the cost of the Life Pack 35 and how long do they last?
So the cost of the individual piece of equipment is around $50,000. Then each of those, I mean, they sell it as a bare bones machine, and then you have to buy the blood pressure cuffs, the cables, and things like that, which is their business model. This comes with a 4-year service agreement for the first 4 years, then everything is totally covered. The lifespan is typically about 10 years. The reason we retain some of our old ones is depending on when you buy them in the life cycle, is they'll update some of the circuitry and things in it. So some of them may go a little bit longer. But if I'm being totally candid, just like any business out there, there's a little bit of planned obsolescence in them. They come out with new features, new things that no longer interacts with the other software. So I believe when we transitioned out of our LifePak 15s, we had several that were 12 years old. And part of the reason that we needed to move away from them was because we just simply couldn't get parts anymore. So our goal would be to stay and make sure that we have monitors that are capable of functioning and they're not, requiring constant maintenance.
Thank you, Councilman. Any other questions or comments from anyone? I'm not sure, but I can't see up there. Do you have any questions, Councilman? I'm looking up at the screen up there. Okay, all right, very good. What's the time constraints on this, gentlemen?
Consent decree is fine for this one.
Oh, consent agenda, okay. Let me get a motion for.
Motion for consent.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second for consent. All in favor, aye? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, very good. We'll get that out before council tonight. We'll get that on the consent agenda. I appreciate your time coming down. I hope you have a good rest of your day. We have nothing further to come before us, and the public safety will be adjourned. Thank you.
That is our final committee meeting of the day. Council will meet in regular session at 6:30. Thank you.